Welcome to episode 3 of the Made by Jo Crafty podcast. My name is Jo. I am a knitter, crocheter and sewer based in Fife in Scotland, and this is my little corner of the internet to talk about all the things that I have been working on recently, some of my finished objects and also acquisitions that I have received since the last episode. I am coming to you today back from the craft room. We took a little bit of a hiatus last time and we're filming in the kitchen just because I was doing some painting. I was painting this lovely wave that I've now got behind me in the craft room. I wanted it to be a fun and energetic space for me to be creative, and it is also where I have my work desk, so I wanted to wake up in the morning and come through and just have a smile on my face as soon as I came in the room, and that's definitely what I have achieved with this. It took me the best part of 2 weeks to paint this. It's 2 coats of each one, but I did do it by hand, so it was a lot of drawing and then rubbing out and then drawing to try and get it right. So it's definitely not perfect, but I absolutely love it, and I'm really happy to be back in the space to do this episode with you guys. Today we have 4 finished objects, 4 whips, and a ridiculous amount of acquisitions. This month has been very yarn heavy for several reasons. The first is that we just had the Scottish Yarn Festival at Perth, and my knit night also decided to do a yarn swap on the same week, so I also got a lot of yarn there, as well as some orders that I was waiting for in the last episode that have arrived. So this is going to be a very yarn heavy podcast episode. I hope that's all right with you. I did check on Instagram just with a little poll, and I got 100% of people saying they would love to see all the yarn I had received, so I am going to show it. If it's something that you are not interested in, it is going to be the last sort of segment of today's podcast, so you can just turn off whenever you please, obviously, but you can turn off before the acquisitions if that's not something that you're interested in. I also just wanted to say one additional thing before we get started. If you are a family member of mine, thank you very much for coming, but please can you turn off the video? Today I have quite a lot of gift knits, or a couple of gift knits, and I'd rather that you didn't see them, obviously, as some of them are for some of you. So thank you very much for coming, nice to have you, but please click off the video and you can join us in the next episode. Okay, we have a lot to get through today, so I'm just going to go straight into it, and if I am going a little bit faster than usual, I apologise. I don't want my episode to be 800 minutes like it was previously, so I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet. And we're going to start with what I am wearing. This is my first finished object, and you might recognise it if you watched the last episode. This is my Shoreline tee. This is a free drops pattern that's available online, and I knit mine in Paintbox Cotton DK in a variety of different colours. I also modified mine, so the Shoreline is a A-line shape, and I decided to omit that and just knit it straight down as a t-shirt. And the same with the sleeves. The sleeves are slightly longer and I think they flare out, and I didn't do that either. I just finished them off straight. I am really happy with this t-shirt. I was really losing mojo on it in the last episode because we were getting to the end of August, summer was kind of over and the weather had gone downhill, but as many places in the world, we got a heat wave at the beginning of September, and that really kicked me into gear to get this finished. So I did finish it within that sort of heat wave week and was able to wear it a couple of times while it was sunny. So I'm really pleased with it. I'm looking forward to wearing it next spring and summer. And to be honest, I will probably wear it in the winter too. I'll just layer it with other things. But I think it's really beautiful. It's made with this, I want to call it fan and flare stitch, but I'm not sure. But like I say, it's a free drops pattern. The only other thing I wanted to mention is that Drops got in contact with me and asked me if it would be possible to use my project photo in their Ravelry. So if you actually search the Shoreline tee by Drops on Ravelry, the third picture is a little picture of me in my t-shirt. And actually, funny story, the the picture that they chose was one that I took just in my bathroom to send to my family members, so it's such a goofy photo. I look a little bit like a penguin, but I am happy with it, and I'm really pleased that they just wanted to show off their design through my finished object. So this is my shoreline tee. I've spoken a little bit more about it in my last 2 episodes, so if you are interested in seeing how I knit it or throughout the process, then you can check those out, because I don't want to dwell too much on it now that it's finished, but it's beautiful. I love it. I love the neckline, which is a bit unusual for me. I tend to like a tight, like a closer neckline, but I find this is really flattering. I don't know why, I just really like it. And yeah, I was a little bit apprehensive of wearing it because it's got these yarn over gaps, but actually I've just worn it with a nude bra and I don't think you can tell, and I don't think anyone will be staring, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. But yeah, this is my first finished object, my shoreline tee, and it is also what I'm wearing today. My next finished object that I've got was a whip in the last episode, and it is my Gallus scarf. This is a pattern designed by Amy Palco. It is her first pattern design, and Amy Palco is a podcaster here on YouTube called The Meaningful Stitch, so I would recommend checking her out if you don't already. But this is her first ever pattern. I was lucky enough to be one of the testers as this pattern was launching at the Scottish Yarn Festival, and I was heading along, so my scarf was used as one of the examples on her table when she was doing her designer Explorium section. So this is my Gallus scarf. It is knit continuously, but it is a triangle at the end and then several, I think it's 4 parallelograms that you knit. I'm not doing this justice, and a little triangle at the end again. This is a whip because it is completely finished. I have done all the ends and I took it to the Scottish Yarn Festival. The only thing I'm still trying to decide is whether or not to add tassels. Part of me really wants to, then my mum told me not to, so I'm in 2 minds. I did see some ones with tassels on at the festival and loved them, so I think what I'm going to do is sit with it until I've worn it a couple times, and if I think I want to put tassels on, I then will. I will try and put in some images of me wearing this. I took some nice images or a nice flat lay of it, so I will show you it in that. But this is my Gallus. I spoke about this quite a lot in the last 2 episodes, but I will just really quickly run through the yarns and what they are. This is a drops yarn. I was going to say, I'm about to tell you what they are, but I can't remember what this one is. This is a fingering weight drops yarn held double. I can't remember what it is. I know it's in the colour petrol, but I can't remember what it is. So I'll put it on screen if I can't. I really can't remember. This yarn I was gifted by my mum. She bought it at the Perth Festival of Yarn last year and never cast it on, so she gifted this to me. We also don't have the ball band for this one, so I can't tell you any more about it except that it was lovely to work with, and I think it's 100% merino based on feel. I then have a Nervous Fibres yarn. This is their cashmere alpaca silk in the colour Buttered. It is so soft. It's definitely the most drapey section. It did mean the gauge was slightly different for this one, but I don't really mind. It's a scarf and I just think it's really soft, and I wanted it soft close to my neck and my face, which is why it's one of the middle sections. This is then a Zakami yarn. This was one I purchased at the Festival of Yarn last year and then never used, but it is a Zakami colourway in their 100% merino base. And then this yarn is also Zakami, but I received this in an oh no, oh yes box, so it was a mistake and a one-of-a-kind skein. However, when we went to the Perth, no, not Perth, I keep calling it the Perth Festival of Yarn. When we went to the Scottish Yarn Festival, I went to this Zakami stand with Rebecca from the Creabea and Yenny from Finglish Knits on Instagram, and we were having a look and they had these skeins. So this might have been a test that didn't quite come out how they wanted it to when they were making a new colourway, but they do have one very similar to this colourway now in the shop, and it was on the stand on the day. So if you're interested in this colourway, mine didn't have a name because it was one of a kind, but they are now selling one very similar. So I show it in skein form in episode 1, So if you're looking for what it looks like in skein form, you can find it there, and you can have a look on the website and see if you can see this if you're interested. And then I just finished it with the drops yarn again. So I really love this. It's absolutely massive. I cannot wait to wear it. The weather at the moment is, as you can probably tell by the lighting, cloudy, but it is still a little bit sunny, so it's not cold enough to wear my scarf yet, but I am looking forward to it. I'm really happy with the colour choice. It gives me real autumn vibes, and I am sure I will regret saying this, but I can't wait for the weather to wear this scarf. So that is my Gallus, and that is my second finished object for today. These two are actually the only two finished objects that I've got that you've seen before. This next one is a crochet finished object, and I'll just show him because he's adorable. This is Hamish, the Highland cow. I'm really proud of Hamish. I think he's blooming adorable. Hamish was inspired by some, what are they called? Soft toys that I have seen on Instagram, and I was really keen to make one. And then I got a message from our Knit Night group chat from Amy Palco, and she was saying that Aldi had their yarn back in stock, and one of the ones I saw in that photo was this terracotta yarn colour. I have used this yarn before. It's called their baby yarn. It's quite a thick but super soft yarn, and I would probably describe it as squeaky. If you're crocheting with it, it can be a little bit squeaky, so if you don't like that, steer clear. But I have used this yarn before for other soft toy projects. I've used it for blankets before, and I just really liked it. So I had this white colour in stash, and then I went and picked up this terracotta colour about 2 hours after Amy had sent the photo, because I just knew I had to have it, and I knew I wanted to make a Highland cow with it. This pattern was free on a website called Ribbler. You have to sign up and make an account, but after you've done that you get loads of free patterns, and this was one of them. So it was just a cow pattern, and all I did to make him a Highland cow was increase the size of his horns and give him some ginger hair. He does look a little bit like a duck if you look at him that way, so just ignore that. I think he's adorable. I haven't crocheted in quite a while, so my tension in this I'm really, really proud of, and I just think he's cute. I'm really happy with him. My mum had this yarn in stash, thankfully. It's ABC yarn from the Knitting Network, and it's just this sort of spirally acrylic yarn, and I thought it was perfect to use for his hair when I went to see her, and I had this with me. So she let me use some to make his little hair spirals. But this is Hamish the Highland cow. He now lives in my living room on the sofa, or in the craft room in here on this sofa. And I have some purple yarn in this type of yarn, and I want to make one for my best friend because I think she will appreciate a little Highland cow. But hers would probably be female, so we'd have to think of a H name for a female Highland cow. Completely unrelated and completely off task, but anyway, this is Hamish. I love him. He's my only crochet project that I have on the hook or finished this week, but he is adorable and I love him, and every time I see him he makes me smile, so I'm really pleased with him. Okay, so that was my third finished object, and then my fourth object is a little bit of a hybrid between a finished object and a new skill. I have a pair of socks here that I knit. They're my first ever pair of socks that I knit for myself, and I knit them in the early months of 2020. I couldn't tell you when exactly, but it was, yeah, early 2022, sorry, not 2020. And I really love them. These are my yellow, the colourway is called Banana. It is by King Cole, and it's in their Footsie yarn, so it is acrylic. But I really love it. It's the first, oh, I just realised I showed you it and I had fluff on it. It is the first pair of socks I knit myself for, as I mentioned, and it is the best fitting pair of socks I've ever knit. I really love the stitch definition on it, and I love that it's self-striping. So this is my first ever pair of socks. I was wearing these recently, as recent as yesterday, and I realised that the sole on these has started to wear through. Now these are 100% the most worn socks that I have. I wear them very, very regularly, so I'm not surprised that I've started to wear through the heel, the sole, sorry. But I really love them and I didn't want to part with them. I wasn't ready to part with these. So last night when I got home from work and I realised that I was wearing through, I decided to look up how to fix them. So I found this method by a lovely video on YouTube. I do not know who it was, but I will insert their YouTube handle for the video so you can find it. And they taught you how to knit little patches over the sections of your sock that are worn. And I did these last night just while I was sitting talking to Angus while he was making dinner. So it was super easy to do. It came out looking super clean. I used the yarn that I had left over because one thing about these King Cole Footsie yarns is that you have so much at the end. Like this, I knit these full-size socks and I still have so much left. So I'm going to be making some shorties with this, I think. That's unrelated, but yeah, I had the same yarn, so I just used the same yarn to knit the patch. All you do is pick up stitches as if you were going to put in an afterthought heel, and then you knit back and forward and it shows you how to sort of attach it at the sides as you go, and then you Kitchener stitch the top together. And it just puts a square patch of fabric over where you are finding that they're wearing. So if I flip this one inside out to show you, stick my hand in there, you can see that they are really worn. The fabric is really thin and it was just looking quite felted and a bit yucky. So I decided to be preventative before it turned into a hole and put that extra patch on there. So like I mentioned, this is my first time attempting to fix a pair of socks or protect a pair of socks, so I have no idea if this is going to work or if it's going to be a big disaster. So I'll keep you up to date as and when I know how this has gone. But I'm glad I gave it a go because they are my favourite pair of socks and I will be devastated if they just end up too holy to wear. But I'm going to retire these to in-house socks for the next wee while, just until I know if this is going to work. And if it doesn't, then I'm going to take it out and try darning, which is a bit more of a traditional method. But I'm really happy with these. It made me feel really proud last night that not only do I make my own clothes, I sew my own clothes most of the time and I knit my own clothes, but I then also was able to work out how to and then implement fixing some of my own clothes. It made me feel so happy and wholesome, and that I was doing my best to be sustainable and protect the planet and wasn't being wasteful. So I am really, really proud that I managed to do that. Like I said, no idea if it's going to work, but it made me feel proud at the time. So I finished these last night and fixed them, and I'm really happy with them. Now, I don't know if you just heard that, but my stomach just made a very loud noise, and this is conveniently the end of the finished objects section. So I'm going to go and grab something to eat before my stomach eats itself, and then I will be back to show you my whips. We have 4 whips to go through, and excitingly, I have not shown you any of these whips. These are all new whips in the last month, and I'm really excited to show you them. So I'll be back with food in my belly. Okie dokie, we are back in the room. Our belly is full of Weetabix, so hopefully it won't make any further noises on me. And we're going to get straight into whips. So like I said, I don't think you've seen any of these whips before, which is hilarious. If you have, I apologise for giving you false information, but I don't think you have. And I'm going to start with one that you definitely have not seen before. In episode 1, I mentioned that I had purchased some Barbie Galactica yarn from Beehive Yarns, and ever since then it's been sat on my yarn wall and I've been staring at it, really keen to cast it on, but never really had the time. Last time I mentioned that I'd had loads of test knits to do and I just didn't knit on anything that wasn't a test knit, and this month I had picked up quite a few big projects that I've been wanting to start because I'd finished all my tests and it felt really nice to do that. But something I wanted to do recently was a little accessory, like a little knit that'll take me 2 days and then it'll be done. And this is what I chose to do. So I have one finished and one still on the needles, so I didn't class it as a finished object for that reason. But this is knit in Barbie Galactica Suri. So, sorry, I'm just getting it all out of the bag. So I'll start with the bag. The bag is my autumn Lysander and olive bag. It's got little pumpkins on it and apples, and it's just adorable. And I'm really happy that I finally got to crack it out for a project. But I cast this on 2 days ago. 2 days ago at lunchtime. I had a spare 10 minutes and I thought I'm going to wind up some yarn. I needed to wind up a skein for one of the other projects I'll show you later, and I thought I'm just going to wind up 2 little things and see if I've got time to do a small accessory. So one of the ones I wound up was this. This is Beehive Yarns Barbie Galactica Suri. It's pink with blue and yellow speckles in it, and it's blooming adorable. It's also really soft, so I'm just obsessed with this yarn. And then the other yarn that I skeined up was this. So this is Yarn Unique sock yarn, I believe. I kept the ball bands for this reason. Yarn Unique 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and it's just a fingering weight, so it's 425 meters for 100 grams. And this is in the colourway Be Brave. So this is a Harry Potter colourway. And I'm not, I believe, but I'm not quite sure what the reference is, which is bad for me because I'm a Harry Potter fan. But it's in the colourway Be Brave, and it's just adorable. And I mentioned in the first episode that when I showed you this, that this is what I had in mind to pair with it, but I wasn't quite sure how it was going to go. And I didn't want to say this is definitely what I'm doing and then not like the finished object. So the other day, this is chaotic, this little section. The other day when I skeined these up, I also knit a swatch because it took me 10 minutes. I literally did 4 rows because I thought it's an accessory, it's not a garment, so I'm not that fussy about it as long as I can check that it meets gauge. So I did 4 rows, it met gauge, and we casted on. And that was 2 days ago, and I did one evening and then my commuting on the train yesterday, and I finished it. So this is my, it's got this on it, so I apologise. This is my finished object. It is a little fingerless glove. So firstly, I am so happy with how these 2 yarns work together. I think the final product is absolutely stunning. I mentioned when I first thought I was going to use this yarn that I thought it would micro stripe, and it definitely did, but the Suri just really helped to melt that. Like, obviously you can still tell it's stripy, but it kind of melted the colours all together, and I love like the pops of yellow here, and I just think it's stunning. And this took me, like I say, less than 24 hours to finish. It was so fast. So I'll pop it on because I've only got one just now. I'll show you the other one in a second. But this is my little fingerless mitten. It's super cute. I wanted it to fit basically to my knuckles on my fingers, which it does, and then to a very similar point on my thumb, which it does, and I wanted it to cover my watch in the cuff. So this obviously looks like a penny glove. I'm not gonna say it doesn't. It looks very much like a penny glove from Petite Knit, but this isn't a penny glove. I don't have that pattern, but I did have the World's Simplest Mitten pattern by Tin Can Knits. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, and I had that in my library because I've got another yarn that I'll show you later on that I want to make the mittens with. But once I cast this on, I decided that actually I would love to be able to wear this when I'm knitting, if it's cold in the evening, or when I'm working or in the office. So I decided to just make these fingerless, so it's easy to type, it's easy to knit, and it worked out really well. All I did was follow the pattern exactly until you'd done all the thumb increases. I then put this on scrap yarn, and then all I did was knit this until the point that I got to where I wanted to be on my fingers, and then all I did was 3 rounds of purling and then cast off as normal. I didn't do a fancy cast off, I just did a normal cast off, and yeah, so 3 rounds of purling and then a normal cast off, and then all I did was pick up the thumb stitches and do the same thing, knit to where I wanted to on the thumb, and then do 3 rows of purling and then cast off. and I think it looks great. And it does look like a penny glove. I'm not gonna lie and say it doesn't. I do like penny gloves. I think they're adorable. I was going to buy the pattern, but it was also super easy just to do myself. So I'm sure there are other things that come with the penny glove pattern. I'm sure there is more information. I'm not even sure this would meet gauge for the penny glove pattern. I don't even know what that's knit in. But the world's simplest mitten pattern comes with instructions for fingering, DK, worsted and chunky. So it just basically gives you everything that you need. So this is my one finished world's simplest mitten. And then last night when after dinner, when we were sitting watching Taskmaster, which is our TV show of choice at the moment, I cast this one on, and I managed to get the whole cuff done and start the stockinette, and I'm now ready to do the increases for the thumb. I'm about to start the thumb increases. So I can foresee this being finished tonight. I will probably finish it tonight as we're watching TV. It's so easy to do. But this yarn is lovely to work with. It's so soft, and when I wear it on my hand it's so cozy, so I cannot wait to have these done. This is also my first time ever doing magic loop. Now I have a laughably big cable on this tiny project, but someone told me you need a big cable, so I just picked the shortest big cable I have, if that makes sense. So it is on a massive cable, and there is like can I show you it that way? There is like a bigger gap in my ribbing where the magic loop obviously is, but I'm not too fussed about that. For the first time I've ever done magic loop, I don't think it's that bad. And I haven't decided if I'm going to bother blocking these or not, but blocking might solve a little bit of that. So I'm just making sure to pull the last stitch tight on the ones that I like, on where the magic loop is, and I'm trying my best to keep it even, but I don't really mind. You can't really tell on this one, and I had the same issue on this one. So I'm just so excited to have these done. And like I say, this took less than 24 hours. This one I cast on last night, and I'll probably finish tonight. And then I'll weave the ends in, and I'll have a pair of gloves. And I think last time I said, I can envision myself strutting along, wearing my mittens, feeling like an absolute queen, because they're absolutely stunning, and that's exactly the vibes these are giving me already. I cannot wait to wear them and just feel like a Barbie princess, but it's just a little pop of that, so I don't have to wear a full-on bright pink pantsuit to get that vibe. So I love them. I've spoken about them way too much, way longer than I needed to, but this has been my passion cast on recently. My other projects are at stages that are a little bit complex, and I just wanted something super simple to do, and I needed something simple to do on the train, which is the main reason that I cast these on, because I was going into the office yesterday and I wanted commuting knitting. So this is my commuting knitting, and it's already done, and I'll have the other one probably done tonight. But that is my world's simplest mittens made into fingerless gloves by Tin Can Knits. And actually, I'm at the beginning of round, so this fell off, but I'm using one of my new stitch markers. So this is one of my dinky new stitch markers. This is from Baubles and Berries on Instagram. They're based in Edinburgh, and Odd actually met me at Perth Festival of Yarn. I did it again at the Scottish Yarn Festival to hand deliver these to me because I was going anyway, and that was just so nice, and she was so lovely, and we stood for ages talking about Elizabeth blouses and everything. So I'm really happy with how my stitch markers have turned out, and again wanted to use one of my new stitch markers on my new project in my new project bag this week. So this has been my fun little last 2 days of just constantly knitting on, and I've loved how fast that they've worked up. So that is my first whip, and I spoke about that for way too long, so apologies. My next 3 whips are all big projects. They're all jumper projects or cardigans. So I'll start with my one cardigan. Now, there's a backstory to this one. This has been on the needles since February. I found this pattern last year. It's called the Christmas Happiness Cardigan by Vogs Knits, I want to say, is what they're called on Instagram. Now, I do not want to butcher this person's name, so I'll show you it afterwards, but I think it's Iris Hlyn Vogsdottir. Apologies if I've absolutely ruined that. That's their name. This is the pattern. It's called Christmas Happiness, and it comes with a sweater version and a cardigan version. And I found this last year at Christmas time. I think it was in December, and I loved it, but I thought there's absolutely no way I'm going to manage a full colourwork cardigan before Christmas. But what I do, or what I could do, is buy the yarn and then cast it on at the beginning of next year and work my way through it throughout the whole year and have it ready for Christmas 2023. So that is what I did. I purchased the yarn from knit.co.uk in February for this, and I cast on straight away. And I remember telling everyone at night and then being like, Joe, it's literally just been Christmas, what are you up to? But I'm glad I did, because I cast this on, I worked on it for quite a bit, picked it up every so often and then put it down, and I honestly didn't pick it up for like 3 months in the summer. Didn't do anything with it. And then when I had picked it up again, I hadn't even finished the yoke, and I'd been working on it like 5 months. But I picked it up after finishing my test knits, and I have finished the yoke and I have split for the body and sleeves. So I'll talk to you a bit about the yarn before I start. So this is knit. 90% of the colours in this are, sorry, this is a pathetic skein, are Filicalana or Veta in a variety of different colours. So the red is colour 138, which is the majority of the cardigan, which I'll show you in a minute. And then the white that I'm using is Sandnes Garn Sisu, just in the white colour. And then all the other individual colours that I've used are different versions of Arvetta. So this might not be particularly easy to show you, and it does have a tendency to roll, so I will take some pictures if I can. But this is my Christmas Happiness cardigan. It's a steeked cardigan, so it's currently got its steeking stitches up the middle here. And this is my yoke. So I'm actually knitting the size large, and it doesn't feel very large, so I'm a bit apprehensive of that, but we're just gonna hope that it works absolutely fine. So you start off at the top, and then just it's a circular yoke, so there's increases throughout the yoke. I have done the Christmas tree, a Santa, and then a wreath, and I bloomin' love the wreath. And then I've split for the body and sleeves, and I decided, because a colourwork jumper isn't hard enough, to add writing to this colourwork jumper like a crazy person. I sat for ages one night looking up Christmas quotes and trying to find a quote that fit numbers wise into the stitches that I had for the body, and I finally settled on "May your days be merry and bright" because I thought that was a beautiful phrase, and it reminds me of Christmas and I love it. It's not too religious because I grew up, I was christened and I grew up in a family that went to church, but I don't anymore, so I'm not religious per se, but I do celebrate Christmas, so it's not too religious a quote for me, but it's also not about gifts or anything like that. So "May your days be merry and bright" I thought was a beautiful quote to use, and also it worked really well numbers wise. How I did this, so the Christmas Happiness cardigan comes with a variety of charts to do these colourwork sections. So the Christmas tree, the Santa, and the wreath all come with the pattern, and then you get a variety of other charts as well. So there's a reindeer, there's candy canes, there is holly, there's a wide variety, and you get to choose them. Sorry, I can just see a lorry coming past, so bear with me. If it comes down my street, then we'll... Nope, I think we're good. I think it's gone past. Cool. So you get to choose what order you do the colourwork sections in, but it doesn't come with lettering. But because this is a sock weight yarn and it's knit on a sock weight gauge, I was able to use another pattern that I own, which is the Monogram Socks by Summer Lee, and they give you the chart for every letter of the alphabet, and I then used that chart to make "May your days be merry and bright" on a document and made my own chart basically. So if you've ever seen like a horror, not a horror film, but like a thriller that has someone like a serial killer or something, and they've cut out letters from magazines and stuck them on a piece of paper, that's what it was like. I digitally cut out the sections of the pattern and reorganised them into May Your Days Be Merry and Bright, and then used that as my graph. It was a bit DIY, but it worked really well. So this is where the problem comes, because it tends to roll at the bottom. But I'll see if I can just show you a little bit. So it sort of says May Your on this side of the button band, or what will be the button band, and then it says Days Be, apologies if this is really not working out, and then see if I can do this one, May Your Days Be, and then it says, hopefully you can see this, Merry and Bright. So I'm really pleased with it. It says Merry and Bright on the back. So if you were to see Merry and Bright, if you're standing behind me, you just think, what a cute little Christmassy thing to have on there. And if you're in front of me, then you'll read May Your Days Be, and then probably just assume that it's going to say Merry and Bright on the back. But I absolutely love this. Like I say, I've been working on it since February, on and off. It's been a background project, which is why I haven't shown you it in the last 2 episodes, because I hadn't been working on it. But I have picked it up and finished the wreaths and done the lettering. Well, so what a journey I have been on. So I filmed the last clip, I finished talking through all my whips, and then looked at my phone, because I film on my phone, and it had not recorded, it had stopped recording halfway through. And then when I tried to work out why, I'd run out of storage. Then I tried to transfer things to my iPad, then my iPad was saying it was out of storage, and I had to speak to Apple support because it wasn't. Oh, it was a whole shebang. So it's been a long time for me. It's been less than 2 seconds for you probably, but apologies if I repeat myself a little bit, because I have been, it cut off halfway through me talking. So I was talking about my Christmas happiness cardigan, and I think it looks super cute, and I've picked out my other, I think I've got 4 or 5 more motifs that I'm going to be putting on the body, and then I'm going to be doing striped sleeves. I obviously started this in February. I posted the picture of the yarn that I had purchased, and my friend Lauren, who I met at the Scottish Yarn Festival, and it was lovely to meet her because she lives up north and I've never met her in person before. So Lauren reached out to me and asked me what the pattern was, and if I would mind if she knitted it, which was lovely of her. But she and her friend intended on starting, and I think Lauren has now finished hers. So she's got a lovely striped sleeve that's like white, green, white, gold, white, red, and then she repeats that. And really seeing hers finished kicked me into gear to get mine done, because I started mine before Lauren even had the yarn for hers, and she's completely done, and mine is still in the same project bag it's been in since February. It is a steeped cardigan, and I'm terrified, to be perfectly honest. I used the yarn that was recommended in the pattern, but it is a sock yarn, so it does have nylon in it, and I'm a little bit apprehensive of the slipperiness of the yarn for steeking it, but I think it should be absolutely fine. I'm going to crochet reinforce it and also sewing machine reinforce it, so it should have double reinforcement, and then my intention is to put a ribbon to cover all the stitches on the inside. But I'm obsessed with this. I think it looks awesome. I cannot wait to keep going with it. I just took a little bit of a break because I had this, and then my next 2 projects are, one's cables and one's plain stockinette, and they're all big projects, and I wanted something small and quick to do, which is why I picked up my mittens. So that is my Christmas happiness cardigan. Now, I want to show you one of my acquisitions because that's what my projects are in, but it was all nicely zipped up when I did the last recording, so I'll just zip it up now. I went to the Scottish Yarn Festival with absolutely no intentions of purchasing myself a mood bag. Having seen them online, thought they were beautiful, but couldn't bring myself to spend the money on one. I'd never actually bit the bullet. And we were walking around, I went for 2 days for the festival, and we were walking around on day 1, and I saw these and I thought, that is absolutely stunning, and I loved it, and I was thinking about it, but I said, it's a lot of money, so sit with the idea overnight, speak to Angus about it, see what he says, and then you can potentially buy one tomorrow if there's still one available. So I left. I was speaking to Rebecca on the train home, and we spoke about price, and the vendor at the festival was selling these bags for about £20 less than you could buy them anywhere else online. And I came home, was umming and ahhing about it in the evening, and then it was actually Sunday morning. I was speaking to Angus and he was really sweet and he said, Jo, it's your money, you earn this money, so treat yourself to something lovely. If you really want it, then you should have it and you shouldn't be worried about spending your own money on it. So I did just that. I went back and I got the very last one. This was the only one they had available. This is the XL size, I'm just going to call it bucket bag. It has a human name and I don't know what the human name of it is. But this is the XL size. It comes with a little top handle, which I use most of the time, and then it has a shoulder strap for if you're carting it about. So I carried it around the festival for like my non-buying lap of the festival, and then I thought I'm too nervous that I'm going to do something to it, so I put it in my car and hid it for the rest of the day. But this is the home of my 2 whips. So it opens up at the top here, and I also, because I saved £20, girl math, I saved £20 on the actual bag, so I had an extra £20 to spend. I bought myself the miniature one. So, oh, this is the dinky bag. It's not called the dinky bag, it's just another small mood bucket bag, and I have used this for my stitch markers. So this is my stitch marker storage and I absolutely love it. It lives inside its mother bag like a little kangaroo in the pouch, and I love this little thing. I just couldn't get over it when I saw it. I thought, well, you have £20 more to spend. So I've got 2 projects in here. I'll start with my gift knit. Last time I showed you this Nepal, Drops Nepal yarn in Bordeaux or 8916. I showed you this and I told you it was for a zipper sweater for my dad. I all of a sudden realised that it was September and I hadn't started the zipper sweater, knowing that the one I made for Angus took me 5 months and this is meant to be a Christmas present. So I quickly cast this on in the time since the last podcast, and I have made some substantial progress. So this, I'm just going to hold it like this. This is my dad's zipper sweater for Christmas. It is the Zipper Sweater Man by Petite Knit, and I really like this pattern. I do have something in the acquisitions pile to make another one of these for a gift knit, but it's a really simple. People talk about it being quite difficult, but the only difficult part is sewing in the zipper. The actual jumper construction is fine. So you do a Judy's Magic cast on or a provisional cast on to do the collar. You then knit the collar and fold it in half and then join that together, and then it's just a raglan jumper. So if you've knit a raglan jumper, you would be absolutely fine to do this. It does have short rows in it, and obviously it's not joined in the round until you get quite far down, so it's a lot of back and forward at the beginning, which means it's quite tedious, but then once it's in the round it's absolutely fine. This is how far I've gotten. I think I've only done 2 or 3 rounds since I joined the body, and then I've been working on my mittens and things, so I haven't picked this up again. But it's a super simple project and the yoke is now done. So that makes me feel a lot less stressed about the deadline of Christmas for this project. So that is on the needles and is a super simple knit, which means sometimes I'm a bit bored of just knitting and stockinette. It's one of those annoying things that it would be perfect trade knitting because it is stockinette and you don't have to think about it, but it's just slightly too big, and I have a big work bag, but it's already full if I put like my mitten project in there. So I don't have space to put an entire jumper, so I am doing it at home at the moment. I guess I could take it to like a friend's house, or if I was going to see my parents, that wouldn't be a problem. When we went to celebrate Angus's mum's birthday this week, I took that with me because I just took my whole mood bag with me. But if I'm out, like if I'm going to the office on the train or whatever, it's not really an easy project to take with me. But it will keep growing. I'm glad it's cast on. I'm glad that the yoke, I'm glad that the yoke is done, and I feel like I'm now ready that I will get it done before Christmas. And then my final whip is one I have been really excited for a long time and finally got the nerve to cast on. This is the Urus sweater by Igo Knit, and I'm knitting it in Noro Madara in the colour Yen. So this is Noro Madara. It's a yarn that kind of goes thick and thin, as you can see. I think it's classed as a worsted weight, but this is my second cake so far of the yarn. And the reason I finally got the nerve to cast this on is a company or a London yarn shop called My Ivory Room is doing a cal for this at the moment. And I thought, well, if a bunch of other people are going to be doing it, use it as an excuse to cast on. And I'm glad I did. I won't be involved in the cal because I don't live in London and I can't travel down just to go and knit with people at the weekend. But I am really pleased with how it's going so far, and it has helped motivate me. So I have knit the entire sleeve, oh that's upside down, the entire sleeve, left sleeve. And the way that this jumper is constructed is you knit the left sleeve, it's very oversized and it's a drop shoulder, so although it doesn't look like the sleeve's done, it is done. And now what you do is you cast on stitches at this side and then at the far side, and you knit like a really big triangle. You then cut the head out and then get to the other side and do the sleeve at the other side and seam at the end. So it's a really weird construction, which is why I was apprehensive to do it on my own. But now knowing that other people are also doing it, I feel like I could message the lovely lady behind My Ivory Room and ask her questions and she'd be able to help me. So I guess that takes a little bit of the fear away. The jumper is cabled, so it's a variety of different cables all the way around the sleeve, and then it'll be in a slightly different pattern on the body, or a slightly different order. And yeah, like I said, they go horizontally, which is what really drew me into the pattern in the first place. As with everything I have ever knit, I was really scared about not being able to do this, and it's been absolutely fine. I have knit cables before. If you've never knit cables before, it might be a little bit daunting, and I wouldn't start your cable process with an entire sweater of cables, but I'm really happy with mine. I have knit cables before, and I'm now at a point in this pattern that I don't need to look at the pattern to know what I'm doing with each cable. I can just read the work, so that's made it really simple. And you're only cabling every 4 rows, so 3 out of 4 rows is fine. It's just knitting or knitting with one cable. So I'm really happy with this. I think it looks lovely. I think the Noro yarn is living up to my expectations. I do keep putting this sleeve on, and I don't think it's too itchy, like just wearing it like this. It's not too itchy. It's definitely not completely not itchy, but it's not bad at all. I didn't hold it with anything. I know that the designer has knit with this yarn, but she held it with a mohair, and I just can't use mohair. My skin hates it, so I decided just to knit it on its own because I reached gauge, and it seems to be absolutely fine. The only thing about this pattern is it only comes in 3 sizes, and it is designed to be oversized, very, very oversized. So I am knitting size 1, and it's going to have a substantial amount of positive ease on me. I can't remember how much now I'm thinking about it, but a typical petite knit amount, if not more, of on her oversized patterns, which is quite a lot. So if you're smaller, I'm a size 10 to 12 in UK sizes. If you're smaller, and a 36-inch bust, if you're smaller than that, then it might drown you. Equally, I don't know how big the biggest size is, and I'm like, because it's meant to have such a substantial amount of positive ease, I'm not sure if the biggest size would achieve the same amount of positive ease for a wide range of sizes. So I would keep, if you're interested in this, I would check that out. I don't think it would be too difficult to adjust, as long as you weren't trying to adjust the height of the front panel or the height of the back panel. I would assume that you could just add additional cable rounds to each side of the neck opening, and that would make it wider. But it is a really boxy fit, and I'm not a pattern designer, and I very rarely make it. This is one of the only things I've ever adjusted the pattern on, so don't take my word for it. But if you're interested, you could have a look at if you could do that if the sizes don't suit your size. So that is my last whip, and something I've been really enjoying working on. I just didn't want to I didn't want to start casting on the body before I filmed this podcast, because I thought a sleeve is so much easier to show you. and I'm hoping by next time I will have a substantial amount of the body done. I'm hoping I will have until the neck done, but that's quite a lot of knitting with all the other things I've got going on. But it might be easier to show you at that point, rather than just I was going to cast on last night or 2 days ago, and I would have had like a tiny strip of body, so I didn't want to bother with that. So now I've shown you, I will get this done. Some of the other whips I spoke about last time, my sewing whips, I haven't picked them up. I do have sewing patterns that I got printed at a printing shop that I want to do, and Angus is away for a couple of weekends in the next wee while, so I might actually get some time to do that. I don't know if I've already told you that. If I have, again, apologies. But I am looking forward to getting back behind my sewing machine and also seeing how far I can get with some of these projects. Hopefully I'll have some of them done by the time we speak next time. And now we get to move on to acquisitions. So this is the end of the whips and projects section of the podcast. If you're not interested in acquisitions, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've had a nice time, and I also hope you have made some progress on whatever you are knitting on just now. I am going to take a break, go to the bathroom and have a drink, and then I will be back to show you all of the lovely acquisitions that I have. Okie dokie then. Let's start. I'm going to try and do this in chronological order. So there's quite a few things that have come up, and the first was the yarn swap that we did at Knit Night. So the Knit Night that I go to has about 15 ladies that regularly attend, and that means that we all have a lot of yarn that we have had in stash for a while, that we perhaps haven't used and could go to a better home. And that means that quite often we all come home with much more than we intended to, and that's exactly what happened to me. I went to Knit Night with quite a few things. We go to a pub, our Knit Night is in a pub, and they had put together six or eight tables, like big tall bar tables that are about 1 meter by 1 meter, and it was full. Like you couldn't see any of the table. If I still have the picture, I'll pop it somewhere, but it was chock-a-block full. And then we wait till everyone's arrived, and then it's sort of everyone just goes, okay, you're good to go, and you go and you pick stuff up. There's no payment or anything because everyone contributes, and we do these, or we try and do them fairly regularly, so if you contribute loads to one yarn swap and then not much to the other, it kind of all evens out, and everyone's pretty happy that the yarn that they're donating is going to a good home and it will be used and loved. So everyone is very chill about that. So I picked up quite a few things. I'm just going to start because I don't really know how else to do this, but the first thing I picked up at the yarn swap was these two yarns from Bow Fiddle Yarns, and Bow Fiddle was actually at the Scottish Yarn Festival. I had never heard of them before I picked this up, but I think it looks lovely. So this is their 4-ply fingering sock weight yarn. It's 100 grams and it's 425 meters, sorry. It's 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon, and this colour is called Spring Blossom. It's got pinks and greens and some yellows in it, and I just loved it, and I couldn't believe that there was two identical skeins of it in the yarn swap, because quite often there's single skeins, but I have too many single skeins and I was trying to steer clear of any individual things. I've actually just remembered there's one other yarn in the cupboard that I've forgotten to bring out, but it's fine, there's enough, you don't need to see it all. My intention for this, and what you'll hear a lot from all of the things that I picked up at Knit Night, is for this to be a Tolsta tee. I love my white Tolsta tee, I wear it all the time, it's on weekly rotation, so I need more of them. So this is intended for a fingering weight Tolsta tee, because I have 850 meters, which is enough for me to get a t-shirt out of it. It's absolutely beautiful. I can't wait to give it a go, and that is the first thing that I picked up at the yarn swap. I don't know where, I'm just going to put them on the floor. The next, I'll just stick with Tolsta tee plans because that's what most of this yarn is just now. So the next thing I picked up was a couple of colours in the Drops Cotton Merino. So this is the colour 16, and the cotton merino is, does it say what the composition is? 50% wool, 50% cotton. So I got it in this colour, which is colour 16. And then I also got it in this colour, which is number 8, which is more like a navy colour. And to go with those two separately, I got 3 balls of each of the blues, 3 balls of each of those. And then I got 3 balls of this, which is the Milla Mia Sweden Naturally Soft Merino. This is 100% merino in this lovely pink, really soft pink colour. And then I also got 3 balls of this Sublime Baby Cashmere Merino Silk 4-ply. And this is 75% extra fine merino, 20% silk and 5% cashmere. And this is in a like purple colour. And it's blooming beautiful. This is kind of the shade that everyone has been going crazy for at the moment, this lilac shade. But my intentions are to hold these kind of like this. I haven't decided which purple is going to go with which blue, but this is my intention, is to pair them and do a striped version of the Tolsta. I also have a vest pattern, but I'm not sure if cotton merino will work for it. I will have a look, and I also don't know if it's the right weight, but I know I can make a Tolsta in these, so all of my plans were Tolsta plans, and then if I change them into vests, then you'll find out as and when I knit them. But this, as you will probably guess, this and Scottish Yarn Festival were during the heat wave, so I was in Tolsta tee mode because I was not thinking about jumpers because of how hot it was. So these are my first 2 sort of planned projects, and I got 3 balls of each colour to make 2 more Tolsta tees. And then the final cotton merino colour I got, which I've had to reskein because it was falling apart, is another one of the drops merino, and this is in cotton merino, sorry. This is in the colour 6. It's a beautiful bright red, and my intention for this is to make a Tolsta, but for Christmas time. I think the red will be lovely, and for me at Christmas I always get too hot because everyone's come round and the family are all there and the heating's on, and I'm always way too hot in my jumpers. So this is intended for a Christmas Tolsta tee or a Christmas t-shirt of some kind. Whether I just keep it really plain and just do a red t-shirt, or whether I add some sort of motif to it, I haven't decided, but I think this will be a lovely tee. So that's all my cotton merino things I picked up. I also picked up 3 balls of this, which was a really interesting yarn. It's Phil's Annie Blatt, which is probably, I don't know where this is from, I don't know what country this is from, but the band is in, oh, it's not originally in English, so I don't know where it's from. Anyway, it's 60% mohair, 20% silk, and 20% something else, which is not in English that I can't read. But it's this green yarn that's got a halo to it, which is obviously the mohair. It is 50 grams for 106 meters, so 200 grams for 200 meters for 100 grams. And I don't know what weight that makes it. Is that the same as double Sunday? Is that a DK weight? I don't know. Anyway, I think it's a DK weight, but it's this fluffy green yarn. Now, I've said several times on my podcast that mohair doesn't work for me, and this, it feels soft enough, but I just know it would be too itchy. I've got 3 balls of this with the intention of making gloves or a headband or something as a gift. So I picked this up. The good thing about the yarn swap is that because everything's free, if you have an idea for something, you can pick it up and take it home. It can then sit in your stash, and if it comes to the next yarn swap and you've not actually done anything with it, you can swap it again, you can take it back, so that someone else can maybe pick it up the next time. So I'm not too worried about not having a solid plan for this, but I know it wants to be an accessory, and I was just surprised that the mohair actually wasn't that itchy when I put it against my skin. So I have 3 balls of this lovely stuff, and then I picked up another accessory project. So this, I got 2 skeins of Filicalana Arvetta, and this is in the colour 317. It's like a lipsticky pink colour, I would call it. And then this was sitting next to the Drops Kid Silk in what am I trying to say? The Drops Kid Silk, and it doesn't have a colour on it. Does it? Colour 14. And this is 75% mohair, 25% silk. So this, again, I thought would make, these two together, I thought would make a really beautiful Christmas set of mittens or something like that. A really festive pair, because it's red enough that it is Christmassy, but not too red that you couldn't wear it in autumn as well. So that is intended for a pair of mittens also. And based on the fact my mittens I'm currently working on have taken me less than, well, so far taken me just over a day and a half to do 1.5 mittens, this would be a fabulous sort of last minute gift item, or last minute project if I just wanted something to cast on quickly. So I got 2 skeins of the Arwetta and 1 skein of the Kid Silk mohair. And then the last things I picked up from the swap were all from Rebecca from the Crafty. As you can imagine, as a designer, she gets a lot of yarn that she buys for patterns and then either doesn't have the capacity to use them or doesn't like the colours that she's put together, and unwinds her swatches and then has the yarn to just keep. So one of the things that Rebecca regularly brings to yarn swaps is cones, and this time the stars aligned, because my obsession with Tolsta tees and knitting cotton t-shirts aligned with going to this. As you can probably tell, 90% of my projects are Tolsta tees in that yarn swap yarn. And Rebecca came with a variety of woolly knit cotton cones and I picked up 3 of them. So this is a full cone, an entire cone, which is 400 grams in the colour Crimson Red, and this is the 100% cotton. So I have a full cone of this. I'm actually thinking of making a Tolsta tee for my mum. She loves my Tolsta tee and thinks it's awesome, and this, because it's a full cone, I'd definitely be able to get a Tolsta tee out of it for my mum. The Tolsta tee in this yarn needs to be held double to make gauge, but that's what I used. I used this yarn for my first Tolsta, so I know I can make a really nice t-shirt out of it. So that is the first cone. And then she had partial cones. So this is the colour Blue Jeans, and then this is just the white colour, Optic White. And I could see this in a Tolsta or in a vest, and I just saw it and thought that's amazing. And this cone has a whole ball underneath it, as you can see. So this is going to make a beautiful t-shirt as well, a striped. It gives me Paris, or what people usually call nautical vibes. It would actually be really nice even striped with this one. All 3 of them striped would be lovely. So that is my cotton cone haul. And that's everything I got at the yarn swap, which, when you think about the yarn swap being a free opportunity to get yarn from lovely people that are also trying to de-stash yarn, that's loads. I was so lucky this time. I got so much. I was actually so, like, kept saying, oh, I'm really sorry about how much I'd taken, and everyone was like, Jo, this is literally the point, so don't worry about it. And I'm really happy with everything that I picked up, and I just think they're all stunning. And even if I don't use, like, I'm thinking a lot of that was for Tolstas because it was warm, but even if I don't use all that stuff until spring next year, I've got so much cotton yarn now that I either got for free, or the next ones I'm about to show you I got on a sale, that it means I'm not going to be buying full price cotton yarn at the beginning of next year. I can use all of this. So I'm super happy with everything I picked up at the yarn swap. Thank you so much to the ladies at Knit Night. If any of you are watching, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for donating, and I hope to continue to donate to you in the future. Okay, the night before Knit Night, I had ordered a Woolly Knit mystery bag. So Woolly Knit occasionally do their mystery bags, and it's partial cones that they send. So obviously they have been winding up the cones and they haven't met 400 grams and they can't sell them, so they sell them in a big mystery bundle, and I bought one. Again, in the Too Hot Tolsta Tee cotton mindset, I bought a cotton mystery bag, and they sent me these cones in my mystery bag. So This one is the soft cream colour. This is the colour that my original Tolsta tea is in, and actually over there I've got probably about this amount in a cone, so I could make another full white one or use these to alternate stripes for these guys. So I'm really happy because I love my Tolsta tea so much to have another cone in the cream colour. And then the 3 extra colours I got from Woolly Knit are this one, which doesn't have a name on it, but it's like a teal blue colour. This one, which is the one that when I took it out of the bag I was like, I'm not sure because it's quite close to my skin colour. This is like a beigey, peachy colour. But I thought maybe paired with the white or the cream, it might make quite a sophisticated t-shirt, which, as you can imagine, dressed in a rainbow, is not my usual vibe, but it might be an interesting one for me to try out. So I'm thinking about using that in a more neutral t-shirt. And then the final one I got, I don't know why I keep checking for colours, is this lovely yellow. It's like a bright sunflower yellow, but maybe a bit muted, and it's beautiful. And I'm really happy that I picked that up. So that one, I ordered those before I went to Knit Night. I think if I had been to Knit Night first and realised how much yarn I had collated for Tolsta teas already, I wouldn't have bought the mystery bag because I got so much, but I'd already purchased it before, so I couldn't do anything about it. And then last time, I think I spoke about this, but I didn't have it, so I couldn't show you it. Rebecca from the Crafty has knit a Tolsta tea in apple green, which is what this is. So I bought myself a cone. I bought this at full price, no, on sale. I bought this on sale. I waited until it was on sale, I think. And this is the apple green colour. She knit a Tolsta tea, which I saw at the Scottish Yarn Festival. It has eyelet holes and garter ridges, and I love it. It's got a picot edge, and as soon as I saw her in it, I thought I need to make that exactly like that. I need to have that exact t-shirt in my wardrobe, so I bought this. And this arrived after I filmed the last episode, but I'm pretty sure I mentioned it in the last episode. So I just thought I would add this to my never-ending list of acquisitions, so I may as well show you it too. Moving swiftly on then, I'm going to cover something a little bit, it's not chronologically in order, but we'll cover it anyway. So I am starting a crochet blanket cal tomorrow. It's called the Fall into Autumn cal, and it's being run by the crochet designer The Burrow and Hobbycraft or Knitcraft UK. And I am knitting mine entirely out of stash. However, I went online, I checked what the kit includes, and in my stash I had almost every colour except these 3. So when I went out to pick up the yarn for Hamish, I also found out that Aldi had the 3 colours that I needed. So this is just their double knit yarn. It's 100% acrylic, which is absolutely fine for me for a blanket. So I picked it up in this brown, this gold, which is just like a mustard yellow, and then their magenta colour. The Fall into Autumn cal I've spoken about before, and I'll show you next time because obviously I will have started it by then. But it's a lovely autumnal blanket with pumpkins and leaves and pine cones and everything on it, so it's going to be beautiful. I cannot wait to cast it on, to be perfectly honest, and I think the fact it's a cal will keep me motivated to work on it. So these 3 were super inexpensive, I think $1.29, and if you wanted to do that cal you can buy the kit on Hobbycraft, or if that's outside your budget, I think you could probably get all of the colours you need from Aldi at $1.29, which would make it it would make it a really reasonable blanket cost. So if you want to give it a go, they're doing every pattern bit that comes out comes with videos to accompany it, so it should be really simple to follow for a beginner. I'm hoping so anyway, because I haven't crocheted a blanket in a while, but I'm really looking forward to giving these a go. Okay. This is the other reason I didn't want my family members watching. I received a message from my mother. She was out at a garden centre with some of her friends and she spotted this jumper. Now, my mum is a knitter herself, so she totally understands how long knitting takes and how difficult it can be sometimes. So she's a very knit-worthy person. And with that photo, she sent me a message that was like, "This one please, Jo," which she never does. So I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful to actually knit her something very similar? So I did some maths, worked out how much it would be to make one myself, worked out if I had patterns that suited, and I have the zipper sweater by Petite Knit in the original women's version, and I also have another sweater that comes with a sheep motif. So I thought it would be entirely feasible for me to knit one for my mum. Now, I'm not advocating not buying hand knit things from people that make them. This is a hand knit jumper you can buy in garden centres, but as someone that loves to craft and had the capacity and ability to do that, I thought it would be nice for me to make one for my mum. So I am going to make some slight changes to it, hopefully, to make it a bit more me and a bit less exactly like the designer has done. But if you want to purchase the jumper, you can do it in garden centres in the UK. And if I can find it, I will put up the name of the brand that sells those jumpers. But I decided to purchase the yarn to make this. I purchased this before any of these, like the Scottish Yarn Festival or anything like that. So this is a lot because I didn't quite know what size to make my mum. So I bought probably too much yarn. But I thought I could make something for my nephews, or I could make accessories or something with this. So every single colour here is the Drops Merino Extra Fine, which is a superwash treated extra fine merino. It's what I used to make my recent Selma sleepsuit for the baby I was knitting for, and I got this in a variety of colours. So I got colour number 1, which is the white, and colour number 2, which is the black, to use. I bought the 2 blue colours to make the sky of the jumper. So the top one is colour 13 and the bottom one is colour 19. And then I bought 2 greens for the grass colours. The top one is colour 18, the bottom one is colour 52. And then to make the mud that the sheep are on, I bought colour 51, which is like a light browny beige colour. And I think all of these colours go really nicely together, so I'm pretty happy with how they look. And I know my mum will appreciate this zipper sweater as and when I get it to her. So far it is just in swatch form. I haven't cast it on, and it doesn't meet the original gauge of the zipper sweater women. So I have had to do some maths to adjust the gauge to fit. So I think I'm going to be knitting a bigger size than the size that I need to, or a slightly smaller size because I've got more stitches than I need to. I can't remember. But this big old bag of yarn was quite inexpensive. I bought the Drops on sale, that's why I purchased it when I did, and the intention is to make this for a Christmas jumper, so I really need to get this cast on. This will probably be my next cast on because it needs to be started, just like my dad's one needed to be started in order to get it done for Christmas time. So that is everything I've purchased this last month, which is like outside of the Scottish Yarn Festival, which is a lot, and I know it seems excessive. Some of it obviously was the yarn swap, a lot of it was the yarn swap, so I'm not going to apologise for spending my own money on things that bring me joy. I was about to, but I'm not going to. So I'm now going to do my Scottish Yarn Festival things. I'm going to grab 1 ball of yarn from my yarn cupboard that I've forgotten to put in the pile, and then we're going to do Scottish Festival of Yarn. We've been joined by Albie for this section, so I apologise. Okay, so Perth, nope, the Scottish Yarn Festival, my purchases. So the first thing I bought as soon as I walked in the door was this tote bag. It says Beauty is Skein Deep and it's by Celia McWheely. It was one of 2 that I saw. This one was actually in the pile, and then there was the display one, and then I went back on the Sunday and there was no more. So I think I got the last one of these. And I really like it. It's absolutely massive. It's storing all of my acquisitions at the moment in it, and it's just sitting in the corner of my craft room, but it's beautiful and I'm really happy with it. I hope he just lies down. But without further ado, I will just get in. So the first 2, I decided this year not to buy single skeins, or to try and not buy single skeins as much as possible, because in previous years at the festival I have bought a lot of single skeins and a lot of them are still on my wall that haven't been knit up yet. So with that being said, I decided to buy sweaters quantities. And I knew I was going to buy this before I went. I had a detailed plan of everything I wanted to buy. So I had budgeted for it and I didn't go over my budget for the 2 days, and I'm really happy with myself. So the first sweaters quantity I got was from Wee County Yarns, and if you have heard of this brand, you probably know what yarn I am going to say I purchased. I was entirely influenced by Rebecca at the Crea Bea, and I bought Kinross 4-ply. This is in the colour Highland Cow, and I bought 6 skeins of this. So this is 205 metres per 50 grams, so it's a fingering weight yarn, and I bought 6 skeins of this for an Elizabeth blouse. Now, an Elizabeth blouse isn't a fingering weight pattern, it's DK I think, or a fingering weight and a mohair, so I purchased, this was planned for. The mohair was not planned for. I was intending on buying just a normal big brand mohair because I thought, or not mohair, sorry, suri, because I thought this would be too expensive, and then I saw Needle and Thread. This is Needle and Thread's hand-dyed suri. It is suri alpaca silk fluff, and they are the only yarn company I have found that can make 400 metres per 50 grams in suri, and they had such stunning colours. I was so close to buying a sweater's quantity of suri fluff for the Hohi Locatelli pattern, the instant crush pattern, but I restrained myself because that wasn't on my list. But as soon as I saw this and this paired together, I thought that is bloomin' perfect to make an Elizabeth blouse. It also fits into the tomato soup core cowl that's going on at the moment that High Fibre Knits does. It's on the lighter side of tomato soup colour, but it's a stunning autumn colour, and I just couldn't believe it. This yarn is said to turn, it's so soft anyway, but it's made of lamb's wool, but when you wash it, the swatch that they have on the stall is so soft, it's unbelievable. So I cannot wait to see what these two are like together. So I bought 3, did I? No, I bought 4 skeins of this because they were doing 15% off. So I got again, girl math, I got the 4th skein for like £4. So I bought 4 skeins instead of 3, and then I got 6 skeins of this to make an Elizabeth blouse. So that was my first purchase of the festival. I'm not going to do this in chronological order because, perfectly honest, I can't remember. Both days I did a non-purchasing lap and then checked with my plans that I had on my phone beforehand, and then made my select purchases. So I had a really lovely time. I loved the festival this year. I saw so many people, I met so many people. I went with the Knit Night ladies, so it just felt so much more like a community. Last year it was just me and my mum that went, and my mum doesn't, hand-dyed yarn isn't really what she's about, she just does drops and things like that. So we were both very overwhelmed and didn't quite know what we were looking for, whereas this year I felt really embedded in the community and I knew everyone, so it was lovely. I had a really, really lovely time, and I met so many nice people, and actually since then I've started speaking to a bunch of people on Instagram. So Venetia, if I've butchered your name, I am so sorry. Venetia from The Woolly Worker reached out to me after the festival, and we've been chatting loads recently. I met Ode from Baubles and Berries, and we've been chatting recently. I got to chat, going around with Yenny and Rebecca was fab because they knew everyone. So I got to chat to so many vendors because they knew them and they recognised them. So yeah, it was just such a lovely experience. Anyway, that's I just wanted to say how fabulous I found this year's festival. The second sweaters quantity I purchased from Wee County Yarns is again their Kinross 4-ply, but this time I bought it in the colour Quartz. So this was a Sunday purchase after I had gone home and had to think about what I was, like, if there was anything else I hadn't purchased on day 1 that I wanted on day 2. The only thing I purchased on Saturday was this sweater quantity of yarn. So everything else I've got here I purchased on the Sunday. So like with the mood bag, I came home and I took pictures of everything, and I had a really good like sit down with myself, wrote down all the things I wanted to make and what yarns would fit with what, and then went back on Sunday and did my purchasing. So this yarn, I have a suri in stash that will go with it, and it is for a porcelain sweater. And to go with it, I bought this from Dystopic Fibre, which is in cobalt crust, I want to say. It's their fingering weight merino. It is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And I just think these two are going to be bloomin' stunning in a porcelain sweater together. I'm either going to treat myself to hand-dyed suri for this, but I'm really not keen to do that. So I think I'll just buy Filicolana Tilia in their cobalt colour for my porcelain sweater. But yeah, this is going to be bloomin' stunning. So I'm really glad that I picked these up. I walked around the festival so many times on Sunday afternoon to find that perfect cobalt, but the dystopic fibre one I just kept coming back to, and I'm so glad that I pushed the boat out and finally bought that one. Right, what else have I got? Shall I go to Baubles and Berries? Nope, Badgers. Baubles and Badger. So I saw the Baubles and Badger news that they were going to be at in Perth at the festival, and I had never heard of them before, but before I went to the festival on the Saturday, I'd stalked their Instagram and I loved some of their colours. And then I found their stall. The lady was so lovely. I've spoken to her a little bit on Instagram afterwards, and I took every single person I went around the festival with, I took to the stall to show them how awesome the yarn was. And I finally decided to purchase on the Sunday. So this is the skein of yarn I purchased first, and this is the yarn I was talking about earlier to make the mitten version of the World's Simplest Mitten pattern. So this is Bauble and Badger in the colourway Avalon. It is their hand-dyed chunky single. It's 100 meters for 100 grams, and it's superwash extra fine merino. Oh, Albie's jumping. But this is the colour. It's got blues, greens and purples and pinks in it, and I absolutely love it. It's so soft. I just kept coming back to squeeze it, and it's going to be lovely mittens. So this is the first thing I purchased from Bauble and Badger. And then I went back on the Sunday. Now this, I had on my list, potential hand-dyed yarn for Monday sweater if you find a beautiful one. And I found a beautiful colour by Ducky Darlings yarn. It was in their colour Mojito. It was like a minty greeny turquoise colour with amber speckles in it, and I loved it. But the lady said, I asked, there was only one skein on the wall, and she said, I'm really sorry, that's the only one I've got. And she said, it's a summer colour, so I've run out. And I thought she meant she was out, so she wasn't dyeing anymore because it was a summer colour. I have since looked on the website and you can still buy it, but that wasn't my interpretation. So I was walking around the whole festival looking for a yarn that was similar to that colour before I realised that I had seen one at Bauble and Badger the day before, and this is it. So I saw this on their Instagram beforehand and then saw it in person, and it's the colour Peppermint Pig. So I bought 3 skeins of this. This is merino silk, so it's 400 meters for 100 grams. It's 75% superwash merino and 25% mulberry silk. So again, so soft. And I'm really looking forward to using this in a Monday sweater by Petite Knit. I will need to get a suri to match with it, so this will be a future project because I'm not spending any more money. But I just loved this turquoisey teal colour is my favourite colour, and then I loved the rainbow speckles that were in it. I just thought they were stunning, and it's across all 3 skeins. So this will be a Monday sweater once I get round to it. I couldn't leave it on the stand, especially having been back at that stand at least 5 or 6 times throughout the weekend, and this will make beautiful mittens when it comes to it. And then we went to Yarn Unique. So Yarn Unique is the same dyer that I bought the yarn that I'm now using for the mittens from. However, I bought that skein through like a shop, whereas this I bought directly from the dyer herself. This is the colourway Glacier, and this is their 100% superwash merino DK, so it's 225 meters per 100 grams, and it is this beautiful, there's a theme in the colours if you couldn't tell so far, but it's this beautiful blue turquoisey colour, and I actually have a really strange project to make this. I have decided to make a sort of neck. It's like a yoke of a sweater, right? A yoke and a neckline, and it's got no body, and it's to wear like under jackets and things. So Petite Knit has a lot of these types of things. I've got a hazel neck from Petite Knit in my cupboard over there that I still haven't got very far with. But this is to make a dinosaur neck. So I think it's called a, oh, I can't remember the name of the dinosaur now. But it's on Ravelry. I will put the name and a picture of it up here. And this is going to be the background colour for my neck. I don't know why, but I just became obsessed with this pattern like the night before the festival and had to find a yarn for it. So that was a really big goal of mine, was to find a yarn at the festival to make this. I have some Drops Lima in a light purple in Stash, and I also have some Filicalana Peruvian Highland Wool in a dark purple in Stash. And I'm going to swatch with both of them and decide which one goes better, and use the purple colour to actually make the dinosaurs, and then this to make the rest of the neck. So I got 2 skeins of this, which should be enough to make my size, and it's so soft and squishy, and again, my favourite colours, so I cannot wait to wear this in the winter time. And I think I was talking about this quite a lot to my friends at the festival. Having a little dinosaur neck is so cute, and I can wear it to the office and be super snug and love that I've got my dinosaurs on my little accessory, but then when I get to the office I can take it off and still have like professional workwear on, and I think it's just the perfect amount of like quirky and like a little bit nerdy, which is me. So I'm really excited for that project, and again, it's a smaller project that I don't think will take me too long, and this colour is going to be beautiful for it. So this is Glacier by Yarn Unique, and that was my only Yarn Unique purchase. We've only got 2 more, so don't you worry. And then we went to Mothy and the Squid. So I saw Mothy and the Squid last year, and I don't think I bought from them last year, but I went back to their stall because I was looking for yarn actually for my mum. My mum had seen, now, is it Oakwood Knits? I think it's Oakwood Knits. If it's different, I'll put it up on Instagram. She does yarn, she hand dyes yarn in the US, but she also has sock patterns. And my mum has seen her sprinkle sock and she absolutely loved it. And I had a yarn in Stash that I thought I could use as the light colour, but I wanted to get her a dark colour. Now, I've already gifted it to my mum, so I don't have it with me, but I do have a picture. So I bought this dark blue yarn, and that's what I was looking for at Mothy and the Squid. But right next to the till, they had this yellow yarn. So this is called Sunshine Over Perth, because Perth is where the festival is held. It's got bright yellows at the top, but it's also got like a beige with all these rainbow speckles in. And this and the next yarn are the only 2 skeins I got at the festival that didn't have a plan, that weren't on the list. But there were several things that were on my list that I just decided, no, I don't need them, and put to the side. So again, girl maths, I had some room in my budget to wiggle. And this was one of those things. I just thought it was stunning. I can imagine it being a beautiful pair of cable socks. I should have said, sorry. This is their 75% merino, 25% nylon base. It is superwash treated, and it's 420 meters for 100 grams. So I think it's going to make beautiful cable socks. And I can probably get out of this a pair of full-size socks and a pair of shorties, which is what I'm going to try and do with most of my knitting. I'm also going to measure the weight of my mittens to see if I could maybe make myself a full-size pair of cabled socks, and then yellow is my mum's favourite colour, so if I could knit her a pair of mittens in this colour, I think she would love it. So that was my the first of my 2 skeins that I had not planned for. And actually the lovely lady at Mothy and the Squid, because I bought 2 skeins and I was over a certain amount, she gave me a little free mini skein. So this doesn't have a name, but it's again their sock weight yarn, but it's this beautiful green with like pink and blue speckles in, which I thought would make a really nice contrast colour for some of the things on my wall. So I got this little free mini skein, which was really nice. And then the final, you'll be happy to know, the final acquisition that I have for this week was again from Needle and Thread. And when I bought the fluffy suri for one of the very first things I bought at the festival, I saw this yarn and I thought, no, Jo, it's a single skein. You said you weren't buying any single skeins. If you're still thinking about it at the end of the weekend, you can come back and buy it. So I did just that. I went back to the stall on the Sunday, it was still there, and I couldn't get away from it. I had done really well because of the sort of random variety of stuff I got at the yarn swap. My sort of itch for individual skeins and loads of stuff was scratched already that week. So I was able to go to the festival and only pick up things for projects for the vast majority. I know I've bought a lot of stuff, but I am not going to any other festival, and I shouldn't feel the need to justify it because I'm really happy with everything I purchased. So I'm not going to go back down that rabbit hole. Anyway, went to Needle and Thread, was the last place I went. I had to pick this up. It is their BFL sock. So I've never knit with Blueface Leicester before, and I thought a good way to try it is to do it on your feet. So it's 75% BFL and 25% nylon. It's 425 meters for 100 grams, and it is this grey base with rainbow speckles through it. Now you can probably again tell there's a theme with speckles at the moment, but I just loved the way that this looked, and it wasn't your traditional white with speckles. It was really nice that it was like a grey base with speckles, and I can't wait to make socks in this. I'm so excited about it. This might be one of my next sock cast-ons, she said just after saying that, probably about the yellow, but I just loved it. So I couldn't walk away from that. Needle and Thread I had never heard of before I went to the festival, and they're definitely on my repurchase list now. The ladies were lovely. I spoke to them so many times. They kept laughing at me how many times I went back to the stall. So if you're in the UK and you can buy from Needle and Thread, I would 100% recommend, because they were lovely. And that is that. I think that's everything. Whew, what a whirlwind. Oh no, it's not everything. It's all the yarn. And I'm just going to quickly show you the other things that I picked up, which was stitch markers. So Mothy and the Squid also gave me a free stitch marker, which was adorable. I picked this little, what's this called? Milkshake one. And then I picked up these from Folkestone Harbour, and it's their Scottish stitch markers. So they've got a tartan cat, a Scotland flag, a Highland cow, which I'm obsessed with, and a little thistle. So I picked up those, and they need to go in my little pouch. And then the last thing, Dina's Home of Craft. That's where I got my mood bag from, Dina's Home of Crafts. And the last thing I picked up, which was actually the first thing I bought, I think, at the festival, nice round circle, is these dinosaur stitch markers. I just thought they were so cute and I couldn't leave them behind. I wonder if you guys feel like this too, overwhelmed. I'm currently drowning in a sea of yarn and acquisitions, and I'm so happy about it, to be honest. And now I've shown you all these, I can put them away, I can put them in my yarn stash, and just feel complete and happy and overwhelmed with knitting love. The festival was so much fun, and I cannot believe how much fun it was. For an incredibly socially anxious person, I found it really lovely, and to go with Knit Night Ladies was such a joy. So I've already spoken way too long. I'm not going to keep you any longer. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you very much if you have joined for every episode. If not, there are 2 you can go back and have a look at. It's been lovely to spend some time with you today. I would really appreciate it if you wanted to stick around, if you could subscribe to my channel, and if you want notified for every video I post, you can hit the little notification bell and it'll just tell you that I've uploaded a new video. If you like this video, I would really appreciate if you could give it a like, and it'll just let me know that you're enjoying what I am doing. And if you want to chat to me, please feel free to do so down in the comments, or you can get me on Instagram at designs.madebyjo, and I would love to chat to you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, wherever you are, whatever time it is, and I will speak to you next time. Bye!